Alright, welcome to build log 6, I think. I can't remember where we're at. Today we're going to start bending some tube. I got my tools here. I got a file, a small hacksaw, and a heat gun. And the tubing I'm using is a PETG tubing instead of acrylic. And I don't know, some people say that acrylic's better. Some people say that PETG is better. I don't know. This is all new to me, so from what I hear, this is easier to bend. I also heard that when you do tight bends with this, it can flatten out a bit, which is something acrylic doesn't necessarily do. I have a silicone piece of silicone that goes in here, that fits in here, so that when you're heating it up and you bend it, it doesn't flatten out. It kind of keeps its shape, so I'll be using that. And yeah, it's my first time doing it, so what I'll probably do is I'll do my first bend here. This is going to take a long time. I'm assuming this will probably take all night. It's 9:30 p.m. and I probably won't go to bed until it's done. But I got a rock star, so the energy drink will keep me awake. So yeah, I'll get set up here and start bending some tubes. I'm going to start with this one because it's in my hand. So the first tube I'm going to be bending is coming out of the pump, down and into the rad. So I got a tape measure, and I'm going to measure that. That's why I got this crappy flexible tape measure. And it is, well, we'll give it a little bit extra just in case, and I can always cut it after. So it looks like 4.5 inches. So I'm going to cut my pipe at 4.5 inches and make my bend and hope for the best. Okay, so I'll measure off my 4.5 inches. Okay, I went just a little over 4.5, just so I have enough, just in case. There goes the heat gun. There we go, first tube is cut. So I want to make sure that all of this plastic is not going inside of there. I got a file, and you're supposed to file the edge, kind of a little bit of an edge on it. Just helps it fit into the fitting better and into the O-ring. Do the same thing to the inside of it. Just got all the burrs off of it. So yeah, that's scratched up pretty good. I need to be careful on the inside. They make deburring tools, but I figured I didn't need one. Okay, so I made my mark at where I want it to bend, so this will be where it starts and then comes up. I don't know how tight of a bend I can get on it, but I'm going to give it a try and hopefully that works. Alright, so I got a bowl of water here with the silicone just soaking in it because you need a little bit of a lubricant to get it in and out of the pipe, otherwise it'll get stuck in there. So I'm going to take this out and put the silicone in here. The silicone just helps keep this tube in the shape that it's supposed to be in when you do the bend. This is going to get messy. So make sure to just keep working this back and forth and don't stop. If you stay in one spot too long, it'll burn it. Now it's not bending very smooth like I thought it was going to. It's kind of ripply looking. first 90-degree bend. As you can tell, it's a bit long. I need to cut off a little bit here and cut off a lot up here. But that's our first bend. And when I come back, I'll have it cut and fitting, and I'll show you what it's like when we put the fittings on. Okay, so I got my tube bent here for the first one here. If you look at it, it actually curves over a little bit, and that's because this isn't perfectly 90 from it, so it comes down, goes over a little bit, and then goes to the pipe. So yeah, it's a little wrinkly looking. It didn't turn out amazing, and that's just because I either had too much heat on it or I just bent it too fast. So I need to take my time on the next ones so they don't look wrinkly like that. But you know, for my first one, it's just a test, and I didn't waste too much tube. I can make a new one if I have more. Maybe we'll leave that to the last. But yeah, so this is how you put the fittings on. So you put your back cap on, then your O-ring, and then you do the same on this side. Okay, so this is actually a rotary fitting, which is nice. So I can start with that, push this in as far as it goes. So it's up like that. Push the O-ring up. And I'll actually get this one in now too, since I'm here. So push that in. That fitting's now in there, and we can screw that on. Screw this one on. There's our first tube. Next one I'm going to be working on is going to be coming from here and going around and then up. The video card comes like right back here, so I need to go up close to here and then over so that I can clear these SATA connectors so I can still plug in some hard drives. So it's going to come out, up right here, then make a bend, and then come all the way up because it needs to be tight so that the video card doesn't hit. So I'm going to put this in here. Okay, it's in. Then put this up here. Move this in on an angle. I like how these fittings all end up in the exact same spot. What a fluke. It's almost perfect. And then this other piece I made here will go into there and then into this. And there we go. I don't like using fittings necessarily, but this actually looks really nice. So I'm going to check and see if this video card fits still. Yes, it does. Clears everything nice. It just clears it. I've already started training the 4x4 pin wires here. And I've got that started because once I put the rad in there, it's going to be tough to plug this one in. Figured out that this measurement is 2.5 inches to the bend, and I want to make this one match it when it comes out and up to the top of the rad. I actually measured that out to the rad was that exact distance. So yeah, it should be perfectly level with this pipe here. 3.5 inches is the bend to there, and then we need to make another bend. We're looking at around 10 inches there. So I'm going to cut a piece 10.5 inches, and that should be enough. See if this fits. So it fits in there nice. It's perfectly level with this one. And now I just need to make the turn to go into the block here. And that's going to look really clean. This is where it goes. So it goes onto here. And then this one pops into the rad. This little spot behind the video card is literally all I had to go up back through here. This was my plan for a video card prop. I used an old tube that was leftover tube, and I got this little like plastic nut down here, and it's actually got a threaded bolt that goes through it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw it all the way up till it's tight, and it should reach to here, and then this can't go anywhere. But I might paint this black or flat black so that it matches the case and doesn't look as ugly. Because right now it just looks kind of weird with a plastic tube, and then there'll be like a steel rod in it. But that keeps the video card nice and rigid there, and that should solve the sag on the video card. So the first one we're going to work on is this tube here. I already measured it, and it's 10 inches. So it's going to make 290 degrees. It's going to come down like that, and then in like that. So kind of like a S shape, I guess you could say. Alright, so what I have here is a plastic mandrel kit for bending this tube, and I just got some screws holding it into this little board, and they don't go through into the table, but this is going to help me make better 90-degree angles. I've been doing it by hand, and I've been having a lot of problems with them, so I'm going to try this, and hopefully this helps me get some nice 90-degree turns. Alright, so the piece I'm working on now is a piece that's going to come from the rad down to the video card. I already made it here, but I'm not super happy with how it turned out. This bend isn't perfect, and I'm going to try and recreate it and make it better. Okay, so there we have our first 90. It's pretty much dead on. We need to make our second 90 right here. And this one's going to be a little bit more tough because it's a lot tighter of a curve. But, I don't know if you can see this angle, this curve looks way better than these ones. So I don't know if you can tell on the camera. Maybe I'll zoom in. You can see how much more ripplier this one is compared to this one. This is a nice smooth arc. And there we go, we got our two 90-degree bends that turned out a million times better than this one. So I caught something while I was putting one pipe together, and this fitting's actually got some chewed up rubber in the O-ring there, and I would say that this fitting's actually damaged and that it probably would have leaked if I had continued to use it. So it's good that I caught it, and this is just from me trying to fit a tube in that shouldn't have been in where it needed to go, and I damaged it, I think, by doing it. There's actually two O-rings inside this, and there's actually a third O-ring that goes on over the pipe and the top of the fitting. It goes on like that, and it might have sealed, it might have not have, but I decided to switch it out. I had an extra one, so it was a good catch. Something to look out for if you're having problems with leaking. Alright, now all the fittings are tight on all the pipes. We still have to run our last line here coming out of the video card to this T that I've made here, and it's going to go like that. So it's going to come down into here, and I've got this barbed fitting right here and just some random rubber black tube, and I'm going to run it out of the bottom of this. So as you can see, this will go out through the back of the case, and then that can be our drain line, and then I have to run a pipe from here to here. I've already cut it to the right length, and then this pipe is going to go from here like that into here. Alright, I want to take a moment and talk about something here. So this pipe, this tiny little pipe, was the first one that I started out making, and it was this one here. This is actually the one that I started out making, and it just wasn't, you know, up to my standards after I realized what I was doing. So I remade it, but it took about 5 tries until I could get it, and this is finally the finished product, and it turned out amazing. But this one little piece was probably the hardest one to make, and it's funny because it's the smallest piece, but it's because it has this 90-degree and then a kink to go over, and it was really hard to get the precision measurement plus the kink and the bend in all at the same time. Yeah, so I'm going to put this in now, and then we can do a leak test. I wanted to show the back of the case. This is actually the wire that's coming out of the back of the pump. I just notched out a little hole in this plastic trap door here, so it comes straight out of the pump into here, and you don't see it, it's out of the way nice. This is going to be the drain hose, and that goes up to that black fitting that I showed you on the T. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this fitting on right here. Sorry, I was just pushing on. I'm not sure if I need a hose clamp for it or not, but this will go up to the main drain plug, and this will just lay in the bottom of the case. And then when I need to drain the loop, I can undo this cap and all the water will come out because this is the lowest point in the loop. Alright, so 3 days have passed and I finally got all the tubing done. There's still one tube left to do, and it's this drain plug. A few things I've learned is that you need 1,000,000 hours of patience and a good back or a good chair. I didn't really have a good chair, so that's probably the issue, but my back hurts. My fingers are raw from tightening fittings while your hands have been burnt by the heat gun. Yeah, so that's a couple things I've learned. A few things on the course of bending. I have all these pieces here to prove that I didn't get all my bends perfect the first time. There was a lot of trial and error, and things started picking up when I got these mandrels, so the 90-degree and the 180. And I did a lot of 90 degrees with the 180 because it has a tighter arc here. And so once I had that, my tubing ended up being much straighter and no flat spots. I was getting a lot of flat spots before I had that when I was using the socket. But this piece here is pretty crazy looking. And it's just the one that goes down through the back here and up behind the video card and then up. but I ended up using 90-degree fittings for that, so I didn't really need this anymore. But it was a good learning experience, and I mangled at least... This isn't even all of them. I probably went through 2.5 tubes, maybe even 3 tubes to get to where this is now, but everything's nice and straight, and the bends are nice. That's basically it. I'm going to be doing a leak test in the next video, and fingers crossed, hopefully nothing leaks. And yeah, that was an adventure. For you, it was only a few minutes, or however long I make this video. But for me, it was three days. Not 3 full days, but 3 full nights. And yeah, stay tuned for the thing on the next one.